Well, good afternoon. Welcome to Music at the Mint. How's everybody doing tonight, huh? It's great to have you all here. This thing's sponsored by the Jazz Foundation of America in conjunction with the Jazz Museum right here in downtown New Orleans. Everybody's doing good? Well, it's great to have a live audience in here again, and it's great for us to be streaming these Wednesday shows every week with the help of our partners in this function. And we're talking about the Louisiana Music Factory and Offbeat Publications on their Facebooks, so you can tune in after you leave. I'm Jason Patterson with the Snug Harbor Jazz Bistro down the way here, and we are just about to experience a wonderful concert by Nancy Burtchaell and Dewey Sampson. But I'd like to tell you just a couple of things about the Jazz Foundation of America, because they're kind of low-key, but they do a lot of things in New Orleans and all around the country. They help musicians in many different ways. They started out in New York, and they came down here in New Orleans for Hurricane Katrina and helped folks out for quite a bit then, and they've stuck it here. And in any kind of disaster or in some kinds of needs, you know, we had that pesky pandemic and a couple of major hurricanes here. So they've been helping out over in Lake Charles and in New Orleans, giving folks, not just jazz musicians, but all sorts of great musicians in our area, medical services, legal services, housing, and even provide performance opportunities like the one today. So if y'all have a minute in front of your computer, if you want to get up on jazzfoundation.org and check it out, and make a donation if you can, because then we can do even more with all these fine folks that we have down here. We kind of need these musicians, don't we? Yes, we do. That's right. So today we have a fine harpist that's originally from Minnesota, but she has been living down in St. Bernard Parish for a number of years. And she's going to wow you with her harp skills. And Dewey Sampson, a very respected bassist in the jazz world, will be joining her. So Nancy will start, and then Dewey will bring up the rear. So please give a warm welcome to Nancy Burtchaell.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the concert. I'd like to thank the Jazz Foundation of America for inviting us out today to play. I'd like to thank the New Orleans Jazz Museum for hosting these wonderful weekly live music concerts. And again, I want to thank you for coming out on this winter solstice day, and for tuning in across the miles. It means so much to us to have you as listeners. We have a program of traditional Christmas music prepared for you today. It's all instrumental, so sit back and relax and chill out, forget about your Christmas to-do list for a while, and just let the music speak to you. I'm going to start with Noël Sing We Claire, which is a French dance tune from the 1700s. Noel, Sing We Clear, a song of glad tidings. Next, I have the beautiful 12th century Irish carol. It's called the Wexford Carol. Thank you so much. That was the beautiful Wexford Carol from 12th century Ireland. Next up, I have the Good King Wenceslas, which many of you are familiar maybe with the song, and maybe perhaps also the story behind the song. The melody first appeared in a Finnish songbook way back in the 13th century, and some maybe 500 years later, the words came from England, and they tell the story of a Bohemian king, King Wenceslas, who went out into the cold, dark, cool, and crisp night with his page, braving all the elements to bring alms to the poor. This is Good King Wenceslas. It's very fun to play. A lot of times with these Christmas tunes, they took melodies from other cultures, and the words came later. And so this next one, I'm sure you'll recognize. This was an English melody called Green Sleeves, and some maybe 500 years later, they put words to it. It became the Christmas carol, What Child Is This? Okay, I have one more before I bring Mr. Dewey Sampson out. And this is called I Saw Three Ships Come Sailing In on Christmas Day. And some people feel that the ships are actually symbolism for the camels, because camels are the ships of the desert, and there's no water around Bethlehem. So I've read that some people think of that as when they're singing this song or reading the text. I saw three ships come sailing in on Christmas morn. And this is an English carol. I'm going to start with my penny whistle. This is an Irish instrument. Join me in welcoming Mr. Dewey Sampson to the stage, please. So he might need to tune up a little bit, but I met Mr. Dewey Sampson. Our boys were friends, and we became close. Of course, he's a musician. My husband is a musician. And one time I was coming home from a gig on Christmas Eve, and they were having a Christmas party, so we said, hey, let's stop by Dewey and Nicole's. And so he said, oh, you have your harp, bring it up. And so that's basically how this all started. It was kind of just a spontaneous thing where he invited me up with my harp, and we just started jamming on Christmas songs, so. We're going to start with a French tune. This is called Noël, Noël Volé. And it's a Christmas New Year's carol from the 15th century. Thank you. That was the French carol, Noël, Noël Volé. This next selection is very special. I'm glad to be playing this today. This is the Carol of the Bells. And Carol of the Bells was written by the Ukrainian composer Mykola Leontovich back in 1916, 18. And he was inspired by the Ukrainian melody called Shedrik, which tells the tale of a bird who flies into the home in the springtime. Normally this song was sung in the spring, and the bird flies into the home and sings of good fortune to come. So this is Carol of the Bells. Carol the Bells, thank you so much. And now we're going to turn to medieval times, and this is Let All Mortal Flesh Keep Silence. The melody is from France, and the text for this from the Liturgy of St. James was an ancient text. So the melody came first in this, and it's known in France as Picardy. So. Maybe something a little unfamiliar for you. We're going to turn to something more familiar, and this is Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas. And this was made famous by Judy Garland 5 years after The Wizard of Oz in Meet Me in St. Louis. Rodgers and Hammerstein tune. You know, I want to back up a little bit. This is the song by Rodgers and Hammerstein. I had a lot of things rolling around my brain. This next tune is by Rodgers and Hammerstein, and this is my favorite things. Of course, made famous in The Sound of Music and played by many musicians over the years. thank you all for coming out again. That's all we have for today, and I hope you were pleased and I'm glad you came out. We sure appreciate you coming out and tuning in, of course, across the miles. Happy solstice. Today is the solstice day, and I hope you all have a very wonderful holiday season. And thanks again. We appreciate you. Dewey Sampson. My name's Nancy Burtchaell. Thanks again. We appreciate you.